Alright guys, this lesson is about simplifying variable expressions for one or more variables. So if you hang on with me while I keep writing, we'll get started. Not too complicated stuff. Alright, this leads us to the invariable question. What is the difference between an expression versus an equation? And the big difference is that in an expression we are simplifying. In an equation we're solving. So in an equation we're actually finding a value for x or y or whatever the variable is that actually answers the equation, as opposed to an expression where a lot of time you just bring it to its most simplest form. And we're going to start by simplifying by combining like terms. And you ask, what is a like term? They have the same variable. We're going to discuss that a little bit more in a little bit. But just going forward just a touch, just like we all know that 2 plus 3 equals equal to 5, well, if we want to pick a variable, the one you see most commonly is x. 2x plus 3x is equal to 5x. That's basically as simple as it gets for simplifying mathematical expressions. So 4a minus 7a, I think y'all can all recognize, would be 3a. Doesn't have to be a letter. A variable can be anything. So if you had negative 4 cats and positive 6 cats, you would have 2 kitty cats. Cool? Next thing you know, you can have multiple variables in one expression. And if anybody wants to take a guess of the possible number of multiple variables you can have, well, it's actually infinite. So for example, if you had 2b plus 3c minus 5b plus 7b, for example, you may notice, and I'm going to highlight these guys together, that these two guys happen to have the same variable. So you can think about it as 2 minus 5, which is negative 3b. And same thing with these two guys. They have the same variable c. So we can combine those together to make positive 10c. And you might ask yourself, why do you put the negative 3 term, coefficient term, in front of the positive 10 coefficient term? And it's basically because this variable alphabetically becomes before this one. That's our rule of thumb, but it's not something that's a strict standard that we hold you to. Another example of just something very similar is 2 plus 6x minus 4x plus 7. And I think now, after doing the first example, everybody sees, okay, 6x minus 4x must be 2x, and let's put the 2 and the 7 together to make 9. And those two, this one has an x, this one has a 9, they can't be combined together. So that brings us to a statement, which is, remember, like terms must have the same variable forgive me if I'm slow, I'm still working on this program, but it has to be raised to the same power. And what I mean by that is, say you were given the problem simplify 4x plus 7x squared, you'd simply have to answer, well, that can't be simplified, because you have to have not only the same variable, but it has to be to the same power for them to be considered like terms. And then let's have one final example. This one's going to be a little bit harder because it's going to have more terms in it, but the principle is really the same, so I expect everybody to do well in this. plus 3b minus 4c plus 4c squared minus 3b. And the directions, again, are simply to simplify. So we're looking for like terms that we can combine together. One thing you might notice right up front is that negative 4c squared and positive 4c squared add up to 0. So we can effectively cancel those terms. We can do the same with positive 3b and negative 3b. And then you might be tempted to do negative 4c and negative 4c, but really, don't those combine to be negative 8c? And that's your answer. Thanks, guys.